is the apocalypse now. The difficult Duchess's worst nightmare has come true. Her response to her father's life or death drama.
Harry called Archie his African.
The first tremor didn't come from a courtroom or a palace balcony. It came from a whisper inside Westminster. According to high-level parliamentary insiders, a sealed procedural motion was filed late on a Thursday evening. This wasn't done during the chaotic Prime Minister's questions. It happened after most staff had gone home after the corridors had emptied and the cameras had powered down. On paper, it looked boring. It wasn't labeled explosive. It wasn't labeled urgent. It was labeled administrative clarification. To the untrained eye, it was just paperwork, and yet everyone who read the internal summary understood exactly what it meant. A verification inquiry had been triggered. This is rare. This is dangerous. A verification inquiry is not public, and it is not adversarial. It is official. And the name at the center of it wasn't Meghan Markle, it was Archie. Sources say this inquiry was activated within hours of a specific event in London. Tom Bower, the veteran journalist, known for never losing a libel case, was speaking at a literary event. He didn't shout. He didn't wave his arms. He simply leaned back, fixed the audience with that familiar fox-like stare, and said something that instantly changed the temperature of the room. "The public," he said calmly, "has never been told the truth about Archie's birth." He let the sentence sit there, heavy, unresolved. It hung in the air like an accusation that didn't yet know its own shape. But then came the kicker. He added, "And I'm prepared to defend that statement in court." That was the signal. Within hours, the British media lit up behind the scenes. Editors were calling lawyers. By morning, American networks had picked it up. By midday, social media had turned it into a feeding frenzy of speculation. But while the internet screamed, the palace went silent. And that silence was the loudest sound of all. But that wasn't the whole story. While the public was distracted by the gossip, a physical package was making its way to a private entrance at Kensington Palace. It wasn't delivered by a royal courier. It wasn't handed over by an aide in livery. It was a plain, unmarked package left at a service entrance. No return address, no wax seal, only a handwritten note scrawled across the front in uneven ink for the future of the monarchy open personally. Prince William did exactly that. Inside, according to sources close to the palace, was a thick dossier. No logos, no official letterhead. Just pages and pages of meticulously organized material. It was a forensic dismantling of a timeline the world had accepted for years. The first page carried a title that reportedly made William's stomach drop, Archie Harrison Mountbatten-Windsor, a timeline review. What followed wasn't a rant. It wasn't a hate letter. It was a list of inconsistencies. Dates that didn't quite align, public statements that subtly contradicted one another, hospital references that shifted depending on which magazine was asking. It highlighted the odd language used by palace spokespeople at the time, passive, unusually careful, oddly imprecise. Nothing in the file said, "This is false." It simply said, "This does not align." And in the world of royal protocols, alignment is everything. One section focused intensely on the Portland Hospital announcement. The dossier pointed out the absence of the customary medical team signatures that have been on every royal birth announcement for a century. It highlighted the confusion over the time of birth, the transport logistics, and the strange secrecy surrounding the doctors involved. But then came the detail that reportedly froze William in place. A witness account, anonymous, carefully redacted, but precise in one chilling way. The witness referenced a physical detail about the child. A mark, small, distinctive, and known only to those who had seen the child up close in the very early days. William remembered it. He had seen it once briefly during an awkward family gathering years earlier. A fleeting moment. No one else present had commented on it. It wasn't something you forget. And yet here it was described with exact accuracy by someone who should not have known. That was the moment the ground shifted. William reportedly ordered a sealed internal verification. No leaks, no press office involvement, just a quiet directive to confirm cross-check and review. But once a question enters an institution like the monarchy, it does not leave quietly. Across the Atlantic, Meghan Markle was reportedly spiraling. The headlines hit her like blunt force trauma. Tom Bower challenges narrative. Royal baby questions reignite. Parliament sources confirm review. Her phone reportedly didn't stop vibrating. Lawyers, PR strategists, crisis management teams, everyone was talking at once. Everyone was insisting on calm, but everyone was asking the same question she couldn't answer out loud. How much do they actually know? She reportedly demanded an immediate legal response. Letters were drafted, warnings were issued, threats of defamation were prepared. She wanted to crush Bauer. She wanted him silenced. But Tom Bauer is not a YouTuber. He is a former barrister and an investigative biographer. His reply when it came was devastating in its simplicity. "Proceed as you wish," it read. "Discovery benefits truth." That was when the fear truly set in, because discovery is a legal term. If Meghan sued Bauer for libel, it would open the door to the discovery phase of a trial. That means Bauer's lawyers would have the legal right to demand evidence to prove her claims. They could subpoena medical records, they could depose doctors, they could demand the original unsealed birth documents. Bauer had set a trap. He was daring her to sue him, knowing that the lawsuit itself would force the very secrets she wanted to hide into the public domain. What pushed Meghan from anger into something closer to panic, however, wasn't the law. It was her husband. For 48 hours, Harry disappeared from the conversation entirely. No statement, no reassurance, no public defense of his wife, not even a quiet leak to friendly outlets like People magazine or Omid Scobie. Commentators noticed. So did the public. One headline asked, "What kind of father says nothing?" Another asked, "Is silence protection or admission?" But Harry wasn't silent because he was busy. He was silent because he was terrified. To understand why this matters, we have to look away from the celebrity drama and look at the law. In the United Kingdom, the line of succession is not a popularity contest. It is a matter of biology and statute. There are ancient laws, some dating back centuries, regarding the body of the person. The legitimacy of a royal heir must be verified. This isn't just about tradition. It's about the sovereign grant public money. It's about titles. It's about the fact that the monarch is the head of state. If a child is born via surrogacy under current British law, they are not automatically eligible for the line of succession unless specific legal adoption procedures are followed. And even then, the rules for inheriting the crown are stricter than the rules for inheriting a house. The dossier William held didn't just suggest a lie, it suggested a constitutional crisis. If Archie was not born of the body of the Duchess, and if this was concealed from the Queen and the Parliament, it moves into the territory of treason. Not the dramatic off with their heads treason, but a modern legal betrayal of the state. Parliament wasn't investigating scandal. They were auditing the validity of the line of succession. And once that audit begins, no amount of Oprah interviews can stop it. The pressure cracked something in California. A strange new rumor began spreading through Hollywood circles. During a heated off-the-record exchange, Meghan reportedly confronted Tom Bauer directly through intermediaries. The conversation was tense, emotional, and unguarded. And in that moment, something slipped. Not a full confession, not a signed affidavit. Just a phrase. "The woman who gave birth." The sentence reportedly stopped there. She caught herself. But in narratives like this, it's not what is said that matters most. It's what is revealed unintentionally. The woman who gave birth implies a separation. It implies a third party. From that moment on, the story stopped being about gossip. It became about records. And somewhere between Westminster's quiet corridors and a Montecito mansion built on perfect appearances, the question no one wanted to ask out loud began to take shape. But the real explosion was waiting back in England. The private jet touched down at RAF Northolt under a sky the color of bruised steel. Prince Harry stepped onto British soil like a man walking into a courtroom where the verdict had already been written. There were no cameras, no cheering crowds, just a waiting black Range Rover and the suffocating weight of history pressing down on his shoulders. He hadn't told Meghan the full extent of why he was going. He just said he had to handle it. For the first time in years, he was making a decision alone. Windsor Castle loomed ahead, ancient and unyielding. Inside a secluded room far from the tourist routes and the ceremonial corridors, Prince William waited. There were no aides present, no courtiers to take notes, just two brothers, and a truth that had been circling them like a vulture for years. Witnesses say William didn't stand when Harry entered. He didn't smile. He looked exhausted, older than his years, the weight of the crown already etched into the lines of his face. The silence stretched until it became unbearable. William didn't scream. He didn't ask how California was. He asked one thing. Did she give birth to him? Harry froze. His mouth opened, then closed again. For a moment he looked like the frightened younger brother he used to be, the boy who hid behind William at their mother's funeral. I don't know, Harry finally whispered. Not for certain. That was the admission that shattered everything. Not for certain. William reportedly pushed a folder across the table. Inside were copies of the dossier. The midwife's signed statement, or lack thereof, the timelines cross-referenced with Harry's own travel records, and one final document that made Harry's blood run cold, a preliminary legal opinion from constitutional experts. This is bigger than her, William said quietly. This is bigger than you. If Parliament concludes there was deception, they won't stop at stripping titles. They will demand answers from the palace itself. They will ask if the Queen knew. They will ask if I knew. Harry buried his face in his hands. She said it was the only way, he reportedly murmured. She said the press would destroy us. She said they'd never accept us otherwise. William leaned back, pain flashing across his eyes. Did you believe her, or did you just want to believe her? Harry didn't answer, but the tears streaming down his face were answer enough. Back in California, the silence from Harry was driving Meghan to the brink. When her lawyer finally reached her, his voice carried none of its usual confidence. Westminster isn't backing down, he reportedly told her. If this goes public, the discovery phase will be brutal. They will subpoena the surrogacy agency records if they exist. They will subpoena the fertility doctors. Everything. Meghan reportedly laughed, but it was sharp and brittle. They won't dare, she said. I'll burn it all down first. But even as she said it, the fear crept in. For the first time, she understood she wasn't fighting tabloids or gossip bloggers anymore. She was fighting an institution that had survived wars, abdications, and scandals far worse than hers. The monarchy plays the long game. They don't fight in 24-hour news cycles. They fight in decades. Back in London, Parliament moved swiftly behind closed doors. A small cross-party committee was formed under the guise of constitutional clarification. No press releases, no grand announcements. But the message was clear. The monarchy was being audited from the inside. At Windsor, William stood by a window overlooking the grounds as Harry prepared to leave. You still have a choice, William told him. Tell the truth now, privately, or let it explode publicly. Either way, it's coming out. Harry nodded. He looked broken. I never meant for it to go this far. It always does, William replied softly. That is the nature of a lie. It eats everything around it until there is nothing left. When Harry returned to California days later, the change was immediate. The staff saw it. Meghan saw it. There was a distance in his eyes. A resolve. That night after the children were asleep, reports say he finally spoke up. I'm done lying, he said. Meghan's face hardened. You're choosing them over us. I'm choosing the truth, he replied, for the children and for myself. The scream that followed reportedly echoed through the mansion raw and unfiltered. It was the sound of a carefully constructed reality shattering into a million pieces. The perfect image had cracked at last. Weeks later, a carefully worded statement emerged from Buckingham Palace. It was a masterclass in British understatement. No accusations, no names, just an acknowledgement that certain inconsistencies surrounding historical documentation are under review. The world read between the lines. Markets reacted, headlines exploded, supporters argued, critics rejoiced. But somewhere in the middle of the storm stood a little boy, whose life had become the collateral damage of a war he never asked for. The monarchy didn't fall. It shifted. Hard truths forced reforms that had been whispered about for years. Trust was shaken, then slowly rebuilt brick by brick. As for Meghan, the strategy shifted. She retreated behind lawyers and NDAs. The Hollywood comeback stalled not with a bang, but with a quiet fading. You can't build a brand on authenticity when the foundation is a fabrication. And Tom Bower, he published one final chapter. He didn't write it with triumph. He wrote it with a warning. Power built on illusion always collapses, he wrote, and the truth, no matter how delayed, always demands its price. The curtain fell. But the echoes lingered. It was the ultimate proof that even the most carefully constructed fairy tales cannot survive when reality finally knocks on the door. And now I have to ask you, do you think Harry was a victim of the deception, or was he a willing participant from day one? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want to know the real reason why the Queen allegedly changed her will in her final days, click this video right here. You won't believe what was found in the safe.